So the next step is to fit our control torque tubes for the elevator and your flaps. This process is fairly time consuming to get it perfect, but it does need to be perfect for a smooth flying experience later on. So a couple things to make note of. First, start with your elevator torque tube and make sure that all of the channels at the bottom of the U are aligned perfectly. So if that means just removing very, very small amounts of material from the center, as was the case with this particular assembly, with the center two channels so that all four bushings contact the bottoms of their channels at the exact same time. That's the first step. Any just slight amount of binding in these bushings cause this to bind up really bad. And of course you want this to be perfectly smooth, and you don't want to have to use any grease or lubricants on it. Once again, same as the rudder pedals. If you want to use dry lube, that's fine, but you really shouldn't have to once everything is dialed in perfectly. So once you've got it resting down into the bottom of the U channels smoothly and evenly across the whole assembly, the next step is to cleco on these locking channels here to make sure that it's still, all the assembly should be fitting perfectly. All these holes should line up on the channels. You can notice that I've left these two off. That's just because they're not locking in any bushings, so of course they're going to fit without issue. So then once you start testing on these locking channels, you may need to remove just very slight, once again, amounts of material from the top of these, just so that you want this to be a firm fit. There should be no play in it whatsoever. But sometimes there's a little bit too much interference, and that causes the assembly to jam. So once again, it's a very time-consuming process. It's 0.1 millimeters at the most at a time, just very, very slowly removing material so that everything is dead straight and perfectly aligned. In addition to that, and so then once you've done that with the elevator torque tube, you'll do the exact same process with the flap torque tube. In addition to that, I'm not yet going to rivet these into place until the rest of the fuselage is, the side skins and the rear fuselage is mated, just because if there's any slight tweak to the assembly, that could affect the alignment here. But we've got, the bulk of the work is done ahead of time when accessibility is easy. And then lastly, once you've gotten these two torque tubes smooth and you're satisfied with the feel of them, you notice that this one's so smooth, if I just put it slightly past center, it just falls down. That's what you're really looking for. But once again, there should be no slop in the assembly. It should be tight in there, but rotating freely. Next step is to get your seat belt reinforcement brackets here installed. There's a little bit of a trick to those as well. They're such thick material that when this bend is created here, it'll flare out just slightly. You might be able to see it here. With this thicker material, when they bend it, just the end, the far inside, will flare out just slightly, and you want to just very slowly, once again, file that material down so that it's a nice smooth fit across all of the faces. And so now that we've done that, we can join the rear fuselage onto the center fuselage and keep working from there. The next step is we're going to join the center and the rear fuselages together. So as you can see here, you'll need to place the rear fuselage up on blocks so it meets the proper angle to the center fuselage. I like to use these foam core insulation panels because they cut and stack easily. You can make a wood jig or whatever is easiest for you. And then we're going to start by clecoing the center to the rear fuselage, and I'll show a better angle of that. As you can see here, the rear fuselage joined to the center fuselage. You'll start by clecoing and then riveting the three rivets from your longerons to the ribs here, and then you'll rivet the 3 rivets from the rib to the rear fuselage. This is where it's kind of a personal decision, whatever is going to be easiest for you. If you don't have this rear floor skin in place yet, it is easier to access all of those rivets, but having that rear floor skin also gives you a little bit of added support for the location of the ribs. So there's no better way to do it. It's just whatever works better for you. So once we've got all of those rivets in place, and you can also see that I've got a line of clecos holding the floor skins between the two pieces together. We will have to rotate everything onto its side at a later step in order to get those rivets in. The next step is fairly straightforward. We got to assemble the cross bracing onto your jigs, and that holds the top as well as the rivets from below holding the bottom. So everything should be aligned well and there's no twist in the assembly or weird torquing on any of the parts. So rather than installing the control tubes, the control sticks in place right now, we're going to move ahead and do the side skins. Sometimes there can be some strange positioning issues that can cause those control sticks to bind if you leave everything sitting as it is right now. So we'll go ahead and get those side skins installed, and then we'll install the control sticks. The center fuselage side skins installation is fairly straightforward with the exception of a couple things to look out for. When you install all the rivets onto your center fuselage side skins here, make sure to, if you don't cleco these support channels on, at least line them up and mark out where they're going to lie. You don't want to rivet any of the rivets down here where they're going to go. And you don't want to install these before you've riveted these, because there's a couple rivets, mostly just this one here and this one here, that are a little bit difficult to access with this plate here. So keep that in mind. You can, I always just basically cleco them on how you see here, and then rivet here, remove them to put this rivet, and then move forward. Also, in this top corner here, I leave off some of these rivets down here because I put on the top skins in a little bit later step, and so that just, or the rear top skins in a little bit later step, so that just makes sure that I'm going to have, when I pull these clecos out, enough space to kind of peel this back and let that top skin get underneath here. In addition to that, as you can see, I don't have my main spar channel riveted yet, or the carry-through channel riveted yet. And that's because there's one extra step here that I like to do before riveting this down nice and solid, and that's just measure the main spar thickness on your wing and make sure that's exactly the same dimension as here. If you rivet this down and this is for some reason too tight, you're going to run into problems for final installation of your wings later on. Lastly, the top couple rivets here may have not been punched in your side skin. So this is your rear spar support channel that comes up right here. So you'll want to, after you've got everything else installed, match drill those from the other side to put the hole on the side skin here, so that channel can be riveted all the way up and down. Other than that, this process is fairly straightforward and everything should line up nicely. Here's a look at the same side skin from the other side. A couple things to make note of here are these support channels here, here, and here. There's a spacer that goes between this support plate that you see here and this rib. And that's just to compensate for the thicker material of the spar carry through here and the channel and the rib. So that way it's a nice clean fit along here. Same thing with this one and this one here. So just keep note that the spacer goes between that support plate and the rib here, and everything should go smoothly. So the next step is to install the firewall. And the easiest way to do that is before you actually put the firewall onto the plane here, make sure to attach your rudder cables up here and torque the AN3 bolts properly. Also, as you can see, rather than installing these channels to the firewall and then the whole assembly onto the airplane, I install the channels onto the fuselage first. It's a lot easier to get these rivets, and so actually you can rivet all of these up top here and all of the rivets going in here and on that side off the plane, and then the only rivets remaining are underneath here on both sides. And so that's by far the easiest way to access all of that without the firewall in the way. Similarly with these channels down here and these reinforcement braces. And lastly, these side plates for your center console. It's easiest to rivet them down now before you even, so first install the riv nuts going along both sides from the outside in, as you see here, and then rivet them down here, and then we'll dimple the firewall and dimple the firewall retaining strips on your cowling fastening strip, and we'll install it all onto the plane as you see here, and the process will be a little bit smoother and a little bit easier. No matter what, it's a little bit of a struggle to get these side skins to come up and fit properly to the firewall, but with this brace already in place, it makes it a little bit easier. All right, so now we've got the firewall all riveted up with its reinforcements. A couple things to make note of is first, rivet the firewall to the supports, and then once all the rivets are installed there, then install these bracing channels. There's a couple rivets back in here and on the other side that you won't be able to access easily if you try to do it all at once with these bracing channels in place. The next step is to install your cowling mount strips. These go on the inside of the firewall flange, and the spacer strip goes on the outside of the firewall flange but inside of the side skins. Keep in mind that you dimple the firewall, the cowling mount strip, and the spacer strip up to this top row of dimpled rivets right up here and down. So everything up here remains undimpled because the front top skin composite part is going to rest on these, and we'll just countersink that to bury the rivet with the countersunk. The next step is you're going to mount up all your components to the firewall that are going to go onto it, and trace out where those components go to give yourself a template for cutting your firewall soundproofing sheet. And in addition to that, in the firewall manual, you'll see the riv nut detail for what size and which direction. Keep in mind that there's 2 riv nuts that go from the inside that are going to mount your heater. And so now that we've got all of our riv nuts installed and our template drawn out, so for example, this particular assembly only uses one of the GPS antenna mount brackets. So this one, we're just going to put a plate over the top of it and then cover it with the foam. So here we see the template, so now I've got it cut out and we'll install that next. So once we've cut and installed our firewall heat protection here, we can install all of the components that we've got. If you don't yet have your firewall forward kit, that's okay. We can still move to this next step. All of this stuff is still accessible. Just make sure to rivet on everything that you can. It's a lot easier to do before our engine mount's on. So then as you can see here, we've moved on to the next step and put the engine mount on. If you haven't yet installed your canopy, like with this particular build, you can leave off the parachute tangs if you are doing the parachute option. We're going to have to remove these bolts to put the parachute tangs on once the canopy is installed, or the canopy cable through the tang there. So, but that part's okay too, no problems.